Hey yo, what's going on? It's Awesome Spiritual Me. I'm gonna do a more serious video this time. A little bit more serious. This one is about quantum entanglement, which is time, aether or holy breath. Okay, everything moves in pieces of quantum entanglement. There's a larger form of quantum entanglement that does, cosmic rotation, night and day, all that happy fun stuff, life and death. In between the polarities here, in each moment, this would flash here in a cycle, but wow! And I'm going to talk today about what schizophrenia and my third eye told me of time. And I never read a book. This is also time, by the way. This isn't time of no time, which is through the 0 point. That would be where things like patience are found, where it's timeless. In quantum entanglement, you find things like haste, insanity, repetitive behavior. And let's go over the reason why that is, because it's always important why the stuff does the things that it be doing. Alright, so let's say baby's born. The future always comes out into the past, and it creates the now, and then that's gone in memory. That's into the timeless, infinite. And then the physical goes into physical manifestation, spoken word, and that's all unfurling in linear seeable time, which is a finite inferior aspect of time, but part of time we're most familiar with. And time essentially is form, but we'll get to that in a minute. So the future comes in with all this antecedents, karma, energy, which is like weight, which makes urge, influence, pressure, oh yeah, you know it. And that falls onto us, which is a form. And inside of us, we have a lot of different little elements, which are also forms. Okay, I don't know if I'm not very good at this, so I might be standing in front of the picture altogether. But the future comes into the past to make the now. And then that gets pooped out into a memory infinitely. You feel the antecedents, that's energy, the pressure, the weight of the impending future, the unforeseeable, the surprise. Basically that falls onto us, which is the form. And, that gets pushed out through us in manifestation unless we do nothing in the 0 point. And we just sit there and do nothing. We unfurl very little. But let's say, we're a regular, normal, average person. We're a form. We're a form in time. And like a seed, we unfurl a specific set of elements in time. So time to me is form in the aspect I look at it. And what that does is that helps me to see the future and know people's thoughts. And I can teach you how to do that. That's magic. I don't think it's highly important to make a trendy thing of it, because it's powerful, I guess, and with power comes responsibility. But anyway, time be coming in, and collapsing the waveform into particles. We observe ourselves in time. We flash out all these thoughts, beliefs, the desires, as we're collapsed in a moment of time. Observation. We're observing ourselves, where we're going, what's happening. The more we observe, the more we'll collapse our waveform. We can collapse it all the way down into single trajectory paths. And you would do that through processes of alchemy. So any thoughts, beliefs, desires and things we have, all in our form, the persona, that'll keep unfurling in time, naturally. So whatever we built yesterday, we'll come out of the future into the morning. We wake up, all the stuff is there to go, go, go. You feel the weight of the time and everything. These are all additions, forms, thoughts. That's all what I call chaff, and that all causes different elemental manifestations, which I know of. I don't really have to talk about them. I just more so apply the stuff I know. And we could get into talking about them later, but I don't really want to get into that right now. And this causes a little bit more predictability out of life. And that's also good to know, because if we're in predictability, then it's not hard to control us. If we're all doing the same thing, posting memes, saying no, saying you're retarded, fuck you, I'm a seer, I'm God, I'm all that. All that is meaning. We attach through meaning, and that unfurls in quantum entanglement as time goes on. Nobody really can escape that unless you were dead. Death could escape it. So all things start in life. The form unfurls, the seed unfurls, the baby unfurls its journey. And let's say that it gets all the way to the end. It's 187 years old, and the baby dies. Life and death. Polarity, you could work polarity in there. I won't say death is in polarity, but death is kind of in the timeless, which is a superior world to this one, outside time and physics. So this is all collapsed inside time and physics. It runs its course. But this all out here, the perfect circle isn't the law of itself. So say that's a perfect circle. The perfect circle didn't make itself. So all this out here would be responsible for whatever the fuck made the perfect circle and the Big Bang even. Anything you can see in linear time isn't the origin of itself. You can't really see your thoughts, your beliefs, your desires. An alarm clock doesn't really go off in your head when it's like, hey, don't do that. Or this is bad, that'll build narcissism. Or this is stupid, don't go that way. All that kind of stuff. That's pretty much, that's unfurling in a time. Sometimes I forget what I'm saying. That's how much that I really don't really care for this. My mind wanders, but all that is inside time, and outside time is patience, the 0 point, where you're not entangled, reeling away. You're not influenced. This would be that guy who discovered. He said he discovered God by science. He explains the construct of time. Some people call it the Matrix, the Chronos, creation, Colosseum, whatever you want to call it. That's pretty much what it is. The antecedent comes in. That could be hunger even. The root chakra is about the only thing you can't ignore. That spawns, hunger and things like that. It's the root, the plain basics of survival. So, the antecedents are hitting us, very quickly in flickers, pretty much, even as I'm going through this. And then we can also slow them down to, where we're just not thinking as much, where we're just kind of, I may forget something or something like that. Let's talk about forgetting and ignorance for a second. If all this is collapsing the waveform into single trajectory paths through observation of ourselves and then observation of the society to us, then what you can do is ignorance is my superpower, because I'm the black hole gingerbread man motherfucking master, and I use the greater higher laws of nothing, which is anti-physics. I'll explain more of that some other time. But all this here is, quantum entanglement in time and physics. This unfurls the indefinite, things that it is. A seed would unfurl a flower. Anger would unfurl conflict. So would knowledge unfurl conflict. Anger would unfurl a little bit higher level of conflict. And if you know what all this stuff's going to unfurl, then you know how to meet it. You know how to work with it. Rather than try and fight it, Fighting it is going with the ego and the flesh. Whereas is you can use magic and kind of circumvent a lot of this stuff and work with the elements, which is what I'm about. I'm all about magic and casting out devils. So yeah, the greater higher laws of nothing are basically is like I was saying, ignorance. You ignore something, or you accept that you're never going to have all knowingness. So you're always going to have some form of ignorance, which is going to come in the form of surprise. Then I can also use my ignorance to, ignore something, microaggression or something like that. You know, it's like I just ignore shit like that. I know you're gonna say I have white privilege or whatever. I ignore that too. I know all about the clown magic, which I'll talk about later. Um, and and to me that stuff is just like nonsense. Nobody can really tell who I was if they tell me I had white privilege. I lived a pretty shitty life, but it doesn't need to be spoken about or whatever. Not at this time. You can always ask me about it, but let's just stick to the video here. All that stuff is just like is nonsense. It's chaos, and the magic I prefer is death magic and chaos magic. And death magic is big, scary shit. All right, Swami G doesn't really like death magic. Turned him into a cardboard cutout, but he's doing well. He's doing actually better than me. So hats off to Swami G. Whatever you gotta do, just do it. That's another thing too. There's a lot of politics in the spiritual world. I talk a lot of shit and all kinds of stuff. I know the effects of the elements. That's how I've learned over time through elemental provocation. And sorry, mouth's getting dry. But if somebody likes that, then that's fine. I really don't care. There's a lot of stuff I don't agree with, but I never left the situation like, all right, we just have to agree to disagree. I'll like, I'm a weirdo. I'll make myself just be like, all right, they got that. I'll never be like, we just have different beliefs or anything like that. I almost make myself believe like the worst thing. That way I can get accustomed to it, because it is magic to me. It's the magic of ignorance, and you can't really fight your ignorance. You can't deny it. It's there. So a lot of the magic and philosophy I have is around the 0 point, death, and then black holes and ignorance, which is imagination. It's the highest heights in the imagination. And nobody can defeat ignorance. Nobody can even defeat the element of surprise. So, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. And I never really got into like spreading too much of what I know on a big level, because I never really, wanted to get into that whole type of arena. Not that I'm scared, it's just not my thing. I don't find it to be like leading by example or whatever. And then another thing is that, I don't want to destroy Satan too early. I'm going to let him build up some drama and suspense. So, if I'm doing all these videos and stuff, then Satan's going to get real mad, and I'm going to have to take him out. And, I don't want to have to do that, because I'm not that kind of guy. But I will do it for what's right, for a noble and Justice League cause. That's what I'm talking about. Are you talking what I'm talking? Probably not, but you know what? That's life. Another reason I never really got too big into it is because it's you're always going to have some controversy, some politics, because knowledge is evil, and we don't even have to get into that. But I think the best philosophy is a way to read all the philosophies and take in the information without attaching to it. which is to me it's like death magic. To where I am, I could be like monotone. I could be, I guess it's disassociative, but I'm in control of all that. I'm not like and then disassociate into oblivion. There comes, if I do stuff like that, then I know what happens. You get depressed, you don't get anything done, and then you're just kicking yourself in the ass anyway. So, it's like you come to various stages where it's like you want to keep bitching and be a future predictor and know that tomorrow's gonna suck because you're not gonna do anything today or whatever you want to do, or you're just gonna do it and face it, face the fear, like what is worse. So I weigh things out in my head like that sometimes. And a lot of times I use my imagination in a lot of weird ways, I guess, to figure certain things out. I'm sort of a total weirdo in that aspect. Some of the things I figured out was just like, I couldn't have done it unless I was just like an idiot. I don't know. It was just weird. So I think we all have gifts, and just follow basically. Not a lawlessness, but a set of guidelines, but don't hold them at such a high standard that you think it makes you any bit of better. Like my diet. I don't think it would make me better if I had a diet. At the same time, the fact that I don't have a diet and I still have, results or whatever, doesn't it's the same thing. It doesn't mean anything. Um, what I do know about stuff, so I'll say all kinds of shit, is that I do know it produces meaning in the receiver. Um, and, I've always been like a people watcher. So, I studied the effects of that. I kind of got into a lot of this by accident. I'd studied the different effects of various things like, you know, going outside the border or the box, like into like retard land, where it's like, why the fuck would you do that? And it's like, what do you mean? Like, if I just chop off my legs, I would never get snared. I just fucking levitate. But that's maybe a bad analogy, but fuck it. What I'm gonna do is explain it to you. What it means is like if I have a desire on the inside that I really am making myself heard about, and I can't get it from the outer world, I can go in and dismantle it myself. It's not gonna feel good. It's not gonna be like, oh, this is like natural. This is my free liberation and my God-gifted right. It doesn't feel like that. But once you get rid of it, and I guess like transcend it, even take it apart and examine it, then you understand things a little bit better. Um, so that's kind of some of the stuff I do, and then this is just some of the beginner stuff that I first learned is like the 0 point. I knew about this for like since like 2013. I don't know when science figured it out. I don't really know much about science. I know the science is there, so I try and talk in a terminology that fits the guidelines of science. But sometimes I just call things like random names, like because I don't really know what it is, but I know the understanding behind it. Like all this, when I first knew what it was, I had the understanding of it because my schizophrenia told me, and I just called it energy mind control, and that's one of the things I want to get into too. Is what is schizophrenia? I believe that psychology is perhaps looking at it all wrong. And there's ways to cope with it, and there's ways to make it blow up in your face. I definitely experienced that with the whole experience. Like it put you through tests, and it was like the Matrix. If you ate a Matrix pill, you were just you could tell you were gonna go off on your ego or you were gonna laugh at the enlightenment. I wanted to supercharge myself when it first happened because this is the kind of person I was. I had like I said, I had a shitty life and everything. So I was like, man, I really deserve this. This is like my time. Blah blah blah. Because I thought in that moment that I like really figured it out. Um, I didn't think anything more than that. I was like, man, I gained so much clarity. Like I feel like I have all the answers. Blah blah blah. Um, but schizophrenia basically told me. It was so weird. It told me basically everything I know, and then I feel it told me how to also cope with it, and that it is an illness that doesn't last. It's not permanent, but you can increase the longevity of it depending on how you play with it. It's kind of like a mental chess game, and I think people just stumble upon an otherworldly dimension, and it unlocks things like that. They might not mean to go there, but with more understanding, we'd be able to help people through it rather than just give them drugs. Because in the universe, drugs are just an escape. Um, drugs are just an escape outside this wheel. If I go to sleep, it's like I'm in death. I don't have any symptoms if I'm sleeping or if I'm like zombified. But this is where all the symptoms are that just keep spawning that we treat with drugs. So the drugs wear out and the symptoms come back, the drugs kick in, the drugs wear out, the drugs kick in. So you keep having to take drugs to chase this circle. You're chasing symptoms in circles. But the forms, which don't even exist here, like your ideas and stuff like that, stuff you can't let go of, technically doesn't exist here. But what it does is it causes is influence and then manifests the symptoms. So you can't see energy, but we know it's here. So the energy comes in, and we handle the energy. We basically inscribe it, and it has influence and effect on us. It affects the mind, our behavior, the way we change, and basically over time that causes illnesses rather than the symptoms that don't cause the illnesses. You could cure it by going after the roots. I call them the roots of mental illness. And doctors don't believe me. I think doctors are fucking idiots. My schizophrenia is smarter than you are. And it says you should be scared, terrified. Because this is Saturday Night Live! Woo! But anyway. So, one of the things I enjoy, because I'm kind of like, I am competitional, but I don't ever attach to whether I'm right or correct. It doesn't mean anything, but I do like to harass the psychologists. I do think they're a bit wrong. I won't get into all that right now, but I think they're disrespectful to the mind and understanding altogether. And I'm coming. I'm smarter than every psychologist out there. I'm unchallengeable, and that's going to be my tour. My tour is my Socrates tour, and then at the end I'm gonna poison myself. After I win against the whole world, and be like, that wasn't shit. Because the whole world would want me after that. But when the whole world wants me, that's when I'm going to commit suicide. Just be like, too late. That's my dream. But so when I do things like that, I can only imagine what somebody thinks. That's one of the reasons I do it, is to prove that what we see and what we think isn't always real, and we don't even know that it's not real at the time. So any of the stuff I really do is all controlled. I don't really have emotions when I'm doing it. When I'm screaming, as loud as I'm screaming, I don't have any resentment. I don't have any anger or any feeling of animosity. one of the things, like the 0 point, is basically when you accept death. It's like when you accept death and great loss, you kind of lose a lot of like being offended or being scared and intimidated. Um, so that takes the edge off a lot of things. It's not really like a huge threat to where it used to be. Then the sexual stuff, especially in the male world, that causes a lot of competition. I really don't have that either. So I don't have like this constant entanglement of a lot of what's already pre-programmed, which is the collective psychosis, I call it. They all have like the same form going on. You get a lot of memes, no, fuck you, you're stupid, you're crazy, that's not true. But they don't really even know what they're talking about. And you could be reciting basic science to them, and they'll refute that too. They're pretty much what I call mind controlled, and it's not a hard thing to do to mind control somebody. We think it's this big crazy thing because they glamorize shit. Like Charles Manson, they like glamorize them like only one guy in this whatever many billions can actually do that, and Jim Jones. That's not true. You got a whole bunch of politicians doing it right to your face, and that's one of the things that if you are a badass wizard and you're all about that magic, you do shit like that, and that disguises your magic. Um, and there's a lot of tricky fucking tricks like that, man. There's a lot of tricky. I won't teach you them, but if I ever have to use them, they work. Um, and I don't ever use things for for something bad. I don't use it to promote emotional lawlessness, selfishness. I never do it to promote hate or how to go and amass a hate group. I probably could amass a group of people. I don't think it would be that hard. That's the problem. Man often thinks everything is so hard or so complex. He misses all the subtleties. It's not really that hard. Um, so it's all energy. Pretty much anyone could use the laws of the universe and create a following, a trend, uh, a cult, and they might be talking total shit, like Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. If you ask me, they're both talking total shit. They're basically using magic, and the people are just like blind to it. They're like the Walking Dead. Um, and people get so offended nowadays. It's like you try and tell them that, and the emotions just like suck them right to the entanglement here. And they're hating Donald Trump's hate in circles. They can't control themselves, and then they come back and they're just babbling like we need to reduce the hate in the world. Yeah, blah blah blah. Like nothing makes sense, but they're just going through this entanglement, just like babbling shit out in the air. But they're not, thoughts are actions speak louder than words. So, they just do a lot of words, and then the entanglement unfurls to give the words later. So the energy comes out of the future, hits them in the head, then they're like, oh, man, gotta do this, got to, and then out it goes into unforeseeable events. It hits a crowd of people, causes influence. You don't know all what it's going to do, and then it comes and it recycles. It's like a karma. And the frequency is basically what all this shit is code inside the frequency. Your persona, your desires, your beliefs, your thoughts, your timing with things, your placement, your rhythm. That's all the frequency. And the frequency gets pinged, and it basically shoots out all the energy of itself, the kind of energy that it is. It basically plays itself out. So time is formed like that. And if you water a seed, you get the future of a plant. If you water 2 marbles, you don't get jack shit, but marbles that are rolling away in water. So the time is the form there. Time isn't some shit on the clock. If it was, then there wouldn't be perfect timing. You wouldn't be afraid to have the times you're afraid to have. There wouldn't be mastery and finesse, which is a chain sequence of form, a sequence of mastery, whether you're doing a dance or Tai Chi or whatever. A mastery will have only one grid line. And then you'll scale down from there to like almost mastery, semi-mastery, partial mastery, and then noob, and whatever. And here you just be practicing on a low level, mapping things out four-dimensionally. Then when you get the memory, you go up. So you go up into mastery, which is the fifth dimension. Once you got all the memory, let's say you're doing pool, you map it all out in the fifth dimension, or the fourth dimension, which is the mind, you get finesse and memory. Then you just ping yourself, and bam, pool ball goes right in the pocket, like second nature. So that's like 5D manifestation. That's a little bit characteristic of it. I didn't write that out here. I just kind of put my magic wand over the paper, but that's pretty much how it is. You're practicing down here. You're a novice. Then you get some information and memory. You practice that in the fourth dimension, and then once you have it memorized and in muscle memory and everything down here, then down here just says, give me this, and it's switched, 3-pointer, and that's mastery. So Dominic LaRosa, and that's what I think. I dropped out of high school, and my schizophrenia told me, and that is my testimony. If you want to know where I get this information or what, that's where it comes from, and I'm not lying. And one of the interesting things that does is, I can't tell you. I'll tell you one day, but I can't right now. So I'm gonna blame